you talk about, you want unity and how we can't have this polarization and it's not the people. We got to blame somebody else. You have high profile, verified influential personalities with, millions of followers who are cheering for the complete destruction of the American form of government. That we have a checks and balance, that we have checks and balances, that we have an executive, a legislative, and a judicial branch, all equally powerful, calling each other out when they step out of the line. Right now, you have many people. I mean, just go on Twitter, you can see them all. These are the people on the left in the establishment celebrating what Joe Biden did on numerous occasions, bypassing the American way of government. These people are acting against the American way of government. Let me explain something. When Barack Obama, he wants to do DACA, right? Yeah. Deferred action for childhood arrivals, I think it's what it means. There's a question over, well, the president can give orders to the executive branch and how they handle certain cases. So there's a legal question there. And a lot of people argued this is legislation. Obama should not be able to do this. And then others argued, well, he can simply tell ICE not to enforce it because he can instruct them to do it. And that's the executive branch. And then you got to get lawsuits. Lawsuits got to get involved. When Donald Trump wants to have a travel ban based on, this list of countries of threats, some argue, well, that's got to go through legislation. Yeah, but it's also that the president has the ability to declare emergencies and take executive action. That's the point of the executive branch. What Joe Biden did today, mandating that businesses with 100 employees or more be fined $14,000 if they don't get weekly tests or verify vaccination, is overtly a legislation thing. When Joe Biden bypassed a Supreme Court ruling by enacting a new eviction moratorium, he directly spat in the face of the Supreme Court, violating, in no uncertain terms, the checks and balances of this country. And now you have people on the left celebrating this. How do we move forward as a country when half of the political population, because not every person in America, is celebrating the collapse of the American way of governance?
Like the left's ideology, I say this all the time on my show, basically the same way you just said it too, is their ideology is just a sliding scale where they can go from we need to support abortion, right to murder babies in the womb, that's my right. It's like the only time they care about their constitutional right is when it comes to murdering and aborting babies. But when it comes to forcefully getting vaccinated, being locked in the house, all that comes with it for the public health and public safety, all of a sudden the Constitution doesn't exist, your rights don't exist. But it's just like they have all their whole entire ideology is a sliding scale with no consistencies and about what benefits them at that moment at that time.
But it's also, I think you'll understand this, Ian. We cannot be a civilization of people fighting for 100% safety. It's impossible. But that seems to be what the left right now is saying. Sacrifice everything for more safety. We saw it in the colleges when they created the safe spaces. If a lecturer says a naughty word and you're offended, here's a pastel room full of stuffed animals and beanbags for you to go cry in. Those are real things.
Well, big tech companies had safe spaces for when Trump won the election. That's like,
they were crying.
Known. Yeah.
So these are people who are voting and enforcing safety above all else.
After January 6th, I know a bunch of people that work for companies, and their companies had mental health days after the January 6th.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of that. And they still have mental health days whenever something big happens in the news, which is utterly pathetic in my book. But
we're watching this happen. That safety has become paramount over everything else. And what did Ben Franklin say? Those that would sacrifice freedom for temporary security deserve neither and will lose both.
And here's the thing is, us Republicans or people on the right, we don't care what people on the left do. Like me personally, I would rather us just kind of split. You live your life, let me live my life. But they can't let that happen. They want to force us to live by the rules that they want them to live by. It's like they can't just say, hey, can we just all just throw ourselves in Florida? Just leave us alone. Like we'll all just stay in these states. Stop telling us what to do. Just leave us alone. We won't bother you. You won't bother us. But they know, and I think when it comes down to a lot of like the truck drivers and the unions, they kind of need us for that. And California is always like, oh, we have the biggest economy in the States.
Well,
we have
listen,
the biggest economy in the world. But
why
biggest
would-
doesn't mean best.
Why would anyone give up their serfs?
Yeah.
So you've got Eastern Oregon wanting to secede from the state.
It's like, we don't need Amazon.
Why would Portland allow their serfs who pay taxes to leave the state?
Mm-hmm.
No. We need those resources. We need that access. It's leverage for us.
Yeah.
But you've seen it, right? I mean, the constant drive towards safety. We can't do that. We can't live that way.
Seems that people think that the COVID is deadly like smallpox or like polio. Like it's a debilitating, crippling disease. It's not good for you, and it definitely seems to have detrimental effects. But to act like it's as dangerous as polio, I get it. Suspend habeas corpus if there's a life-threatening, devastating virus that's causing people to fall down. Their arms are rotting off. They're bleeding out of their face. You call off habeas corpus and you heal the people with whatever you have. But that's not what we saw. We saw incredibly transmissible disease that's, 99.4% of the people that get it, I think, come out of it okay. I think that's the number.
Is that people who tested or people who actually got it?
Of cases, of confirmed cases.
Over 99% of the people are coming out okay.
And now the CDC has said twice as many people have been infected as per previously.
So that'd be
known.
99.5%.
Well, it doesn't change. I was reading about this. It doesn't change case fatality. But the point is, it means a lot of people who have gotten this didn't realize it. And I'll tell you this. We've had people on the show. And when you actually have someone explain to you like what getting COVID was like, you really don't want to get it. I've had the flu, and the flu was a nightmare. I lost 20 pounds overnight. Yeah. I was shaking. I was pale.
They
I
used
was
to kill people.
Oh yeah, I thought
back then you knew you had the flu. You knew you were going to be fine. I had
COVID.
No. You thought
no.
you were actually going to die.
Dude, I lost 20 pounds overnight. I was like, I need to go to the hospital.
I'll say for
here's
people,
here's
when they
the
get
point
flu,
here's the point I wanted to make. That when it comes to COVID, you hear about, we had someone on the show explaining how all of a sudden one day he couldn't breathe anymore. He couldn't have a conversation. He's like, I got to go to the hospital. We had John Pierce on the show. And then a month later, he's in the hospital because so that's something to consider. I think it's twice as deadly or it's more deadly than the flu. We're dealing with something different now with the variants. They're more infectious. There's long-term effects. They're not as deadly. I don't have the full numbers to pull up. But I think here's where we need to be. COVID is scary. Long-term health effects for younger people are bad. Mortality tends to be for older people. There's some promising studies on therapeutics and alternative treatments. There's some vaccines. Hey, how about we be honest about the whole thing, not force people to do it? And every time I see one of these stories where they lie and they say things like, the man grasped my hand and said, please, I just wish I took the vaccine. I'm like, that didn't happen, dude. Because there was one woman who claimed it. And then a bunch of people called, they pulled up the CDC data on the hospital and found out she made it up.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's like, dude, no one in these age groups were in your hospital with COVID. Or how about the ivermectin thing in Oklahoma? When all these outlets fall for it. This is why there are skeptics, because the media lies over and over again.
Is the Oklahoma ivermectin thing where they said 70% of all the poison control calls were for people but then it turned out
2%.
70% of the 2% of the calls were for ivermectin.
So like 1.6% of the calls.
That's a great story. We have yet to go on that on this show. Did you talk about it on your?
No.
That's hilarious.
I was gonna say another thing is imagine if COVID was actually as bad as they're saying it, or pretending it is, or promoting.
No.
We wouldn't be having this conversation.
No.
What I'm saying is, if the government, for the most part, stayed out of it, I feel like, and I'm just such a believer in the free markets and the people, and people making the right decisions based on the truth and based on the information. I feel like if there was an actual disease killing, let's say 5 to 10% of the people it touches, I feel like we would make personal changes to our own life.
It would be my life's goal to help people.
Joey.
Yeah. I'm going to stay home. That actually seems bad. People my age are dying. I'm not going to go out.
Listen. COVID is exactly as bad as they say it is. COVID is absolutely as bad as they've been saying it is. The problem is they're cowards who want to live in bubble wrap in a safe space instead of realizing that freedom comes with risks. Yeah. So I'm the kind of guy who's like, hey, we decided to move out in the middle of nowhere. There are bears out here. And somebody recently was posting about how there were bears outside their houses. We get messages flagged in our Facebook group. It's like, guys, there's a bear. Everyone, stay inside. Wild cats and stuff. Yeah, welcome to mountains. We choose to live in these areas. We have more freedom and greater risk. That's on us. The problem is when you get these people who see something like COVID and then say, shut her down, everyone, even you in the middle of nowhere.
And
You work from home? Vaccine mandate.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, if I died from COVID tomorrow, I don't want to be politicized as, oh, he was anti-vaccine, blah, blah, whatever. He only would have lived if he only took the vaccine. If I died from COVID tomorrow, end of the day, that's my choice. Because if I didn't take the vaccine and I died from it, or because I went out and got myself sick, that's on me.
You got to be real careful about dying from COVID and dying with
COVID.
Yeah. Because some people die from like a heart attack and they have COVID and then they get counted as a COVID death.
One of the biggest spins that they did, I think it was in California when it first started, there was like an 18-year-old, 17-year-old kid died with COVID, but apparently he was doing steroids and his like heart exploded and they tested him and he had COVID and they ran the headlines. 17-year-old high school student, young, healthy, played football, died from COVID. However, they did the spin, try to scare younger people at the time. They do it with, when a baby dies from COVID too. They do all these spins. You read the article and you go down to the bottom. You're like, oh, okay, so that's the truth. Mm-hmm. But they got the headline out.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.